businesses as we look at it locally, but also even foreign investors, because when the foreign investors and tourists, when they are scared and they feel our country is not safe, we are losing so much more than even that one business which may be closed or two. So we need to look at it holistically, and for sure, if we go down on the maandamano, for sure our country will continue to shine. But if it escalates and we make our country to be a place which is not attractive, we are not only going to hurt as the businesses, the local businesses, but we're also going to hurt in terms of the foreign investors and also the tourists. Yeah, and also the remittances that we get from the diaspora.
And George is bringing in something, and I want to take you back to Monday last week, where there were protests in a number of African countries. There was protest in South Africa, there was protest in Tunisia, in Nigeria, and in some part of Senegal. But I want to pick Tunisia and South Africa, whereby thousands of people came out in the streets and they marched on, and there were no reported skirmishes. Police were just on standby. It's not possible to have that kind of a scenario here in Kenya.
Wow, that is what you'd say maturity, one way or the other. I don't want to say that we are not mature as a country. We are. But I think it's just how these kind of things, this kind of mandamanos are called, and the reasons whereof they are called, and how those who are going to participate are called too. If you look at us historically, in terms of mandamano, in terms of protests, some of our protests have been very violent. Very, very violent, if we consider the 207 and the likes, right? But as you look at it now, we are seeing that there's some form of maturity. Yeah, we are not seeing the numbers that we saw during that time here, in terms of magnitude, in terms of high numbers or something like that. So we can say that even in a democratic environment, some of these things are gradual. You can't just be at once. South Africans are from a very bad history, but we are now seeing what we are seeing. And even some of us are calling, can we probably approach these kind of things from that kind of an angle? So that will require a lot of maturity.
But I also want to, help us understand this, because, we also have some cases, and I'll pick, for example, what is happening in France, whereby, thousands of people are demonstrating against, the pension bill, and there is destruction in the streets of Paris. People are burning property, people are pelting police officers with stones, and police are responding by lobbing tear gas canisters and so much. And also take you back to the year 2021, where, we saw in the United States of America, where thousands of mobsters attacked the U.S. Capitol. So where do you draw the line? I mean, at what point would you say that these people are more mature than these?
Like I said, it depends on the cause. What cause has been called? We saw that in America during the Capitol Hill attack. How the then president called it out. This is our elections have been stolen. Our election has been stolen. We are being denied the occupancy of this seat. So can you come in mass and let's do it? Look at how it was called, and compare that to what we are seeing now in France. So we cannot per se say that this will be a peaceful demonstration, or else the cause or the call or the cause of it is something quite requires you to exert some force or something like that. It will be totally difficult to do that, right? But like we are saying, the level at which some of these protests are compared to the level at which we are, then you see that their tolerance is different from what we have in terms of tolerance. That's what I'm saying by policy, but that's what I'm saying by maturity. But I know there will become a time that we will do this thing better. If at all we'll ever do it, we will do it better. We'll be more organized, we'll be more peaceful. And we can say those are peaceful demonstrators. Let them go on with what they're doing. Right? They'll become, that time in this country will come, if at all that will remain a norm for us.
So who is to blame for the ensuing battle between our police officers and protesters?
I would say that this is a blame that needs to be apportioned to individuals. Individuals. I would, for example, go to a maandamano. Instead of this person just saying, I'm against this, they go and start destroying people's property. So we can segregate that guy out and say, now you are the violent person, or you are the destructive element in this maandamano. And then we can also say that when it is called, there are a lot of guys who want to take advantage of that situation for them to push their agenda. And we know not everybody in that maandamano has the same agenda. The others have different agendas. Yeah? So it is important that these kind of persons are separated and dealt with individually to what you have committed. Yes.
Boro, despite the fact that there are thousands of police officers in the streets who are there to assure members of the public that your security is well taken care of, how comes so many members of the business community have opted to shut down their businesses, and more so in the CBD?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. And for me, I would like to look at it from the aspect of what is causing all these jitteries, and not only here in Kenya but even in other developed countries. And the simple answer is that the distribution of resources is wanting, not only here in Kenya but even in other developed countries. You find that a country has very few very super rich people, billionaires, but a majority of the people do not even have sufficient to place a table of plate on their table every day. They do not have sufficient money or resources to have a table or a meal. If you miss work for a month, you won't eat. So we find that the biggest problem and what we need to address is the distribution of resources. And this is because all over the world, because of this era of internet, people are now very intelligent, people are very wise, and they understand that some of our leaders, they have taken advantage, some of the governments, they have taken advantage of even some of the laws that are put in place to ensure that the common man remains common and remains poor. They do not have anything to eat. And that is exactly what people are fighting. People are fighting to have a fair share of distribution of resources, because everybody has their own responsibilities. If you are a father, you have a responsibility to your children. Same case to a mother, same case to you. You have a responsibility to your own body and your own life to take care of it. So if you do not have, for sure, there will be that questions. So because of now we are in the digital era, there's a lot of information and people are sharing, young people are sharing. They have now realized that some of these laws, some of these people in the government, their work is to keep oppressing the poor. I'll give you a very good example, like in Kenya. In Kenya, for you as a common man to get a simple loan, you need to pay a very hefty interest to start with, and even getting it is a lot of problem. And we understand the president rolled out the Hustler Fund, but how many people have been assisted? Very few. So the problem still persists.
Very well.
And that is what people are crying out for.
Gentlemen, we really have to take a short break so that we can first of all go to Kurunzi Mashinani, and thereafter we are coming back with more analysis. So I urge you to hold on to your point, and thereafter we're coming back with more. Well, time now for Kurunzi Mashinani with Harid, who is on the other side of the studio, so that he can bring to us our Swahili bulletin.
From today on, all the luxury brands you see in Immortal can now be found and purchased directly from El Shop.
Just now, I lost control.
That doesn't matter. Just try to shake it off.
Why are you playing this song for me?
What?
Stop coming up with lame excuses to lie to me.
Oh, Mr. Bai.
Do you have any interest in writing some articles?
Huh?
I told you before. You're just like my childhood friend.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustler fund?
Will your children sleep hungry when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table?
So the 500 you're giving me now is my purchasing power has literally been diminished comparing to probably even January or December.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
In terms of the amount of money that is being disbursed, the minimum being 500 shillings, how do you scorecard that?
No, that I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
What is the impact of the Hustlers Fund?
There are people who borrow praying they don't have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
He is a fool who has lost sight of what matters. Manta rabaina wahka kaban. Manta werarena.
Who you contact? No msichana umekuwa kitext.
Sir, contact ni contact.
Not if you're making it personal.
Jamaa, kila saa ni kunyambisha.
Nini? Suseme. Watajua kwa nini kachumbari haipashwi moto.
Our transport has been compromised. Me and my team have hit an ID.
Hii ni rescue mission. Kuna police vehicle imechapwa na ID. It's a very simple mission. But stay alert.
Hizi ng'ombe zinachungwa na nani?
Barabara kabisa. Ni Jumatatu ya tarehe 27 mwezi wa 3 mwaka 2023. Wakati mwingine mwafaka mtazamaji wa kuletea taarifa hizi za Kurunzi Mashinani. Hujambo na karibu, natumai uko mzima. Naomba tuandamane hadi tamati mtazamaji. Yamkini familia 70 katika eneo la ABC huko Kajiado zimelazimika kuhama baada ya nyumba zao kusombwa na mafuriko. Mali ya maelfu ya pesa imeharibiwa na mafuriko yaliyosababishwa na mvua inayoendelea kushuhudiwa humu nchini.
Baada ya kiangazi cha miezi kadhaa kusababisha maafa humu nchini, maeneo mengi sasa yanakumbwa na mafuriko kufuatia kuanza kwa mvua ya masika. Katika eneo la Ilbisil, kaunti ya Kajiado, nyumba nyingi za makazi zimesombwa na mafuriko na kuwalazimisha wakazi kuhamia maeneo salama.
Na vitu zimechukuliwa na tunakaa tu na watoto tukiwa juu ya meza.
Tunahimiza wananchi, ndio hii ni msimu wa mvua, wajaribu watoke. Na tunaona hapa ilikuwa mahali ya maji na maji ni lazima ipite njia yake.
Waathiriwa waliokesha nje ya nyumba zao walisalia kuangalia wasijue la kufanya wakati mafuriko yakisomba mali na mifugo wao.
Mbuzi hata zimebebwa, yule alikuwa na kuku, kwangu hakuna kuku hata moja. Kila mtu hakuna mtu ako na kuku.
Sasa tunang'ang'ana kutoa maji ndani ya nyumba. Sababu imefikia mpaka vitanda. Na tujui sasa mwelekeo wa hii maji.
Wakazi hao sasa wanatoa wito kwa serikali ya kaunti na ile ya taifa kuwasaidia kupata makao mbadala.
Yamani, tunauliza tu, hatuwezi kuonekania ni makansela.
Sasa mtusaidie serikali kama mnaweza kutusaidia.
Upicho Chemtai, Kurunzi Mashinani.
Na mtazamaji, tukiachana taarifa hiyo ya mafuriko, tusonge mbele. Mwinjilisti Guillermo Maldonado ambaye ni raia wa taifa ya Honduras iliyoko Marekani ya Kati amewahimiza Wakenya kujitokeza kwa wingi kwenye mkutano mkubwa wa Injili utakaofanyika mnamo Jumamosi na Jumapili mahali katika eneo litakalotajwa hivi karibuni. Mwinjilisti huyo aliyewasili humu nchini leo asubuhi yuko katika ziara ya wiki moja ambapo atakutana na maafisa wa ngazi za juu serikalini na wafanyabiashara.
I came here with an assignment from God to bless this country, and we're going to be here ministering to the pastors, and then we're going to be in the crusade. We're going to have a 2-day crusade, which I want to invite every family in Kenya. If you have any sick person, if you need deliverance, if you need salvation, anything you need from God, God is able to do it, and God is ready to do miracles in your life. So I also want to encourage and all the business community in the Westham Hotel. We're going to be there, and I'm going to have some principles for you to prosper.
Tuelekee kaunti ya Garissa ambapo gavana wa kaunti ya Garissa Nadhif Jama ametoa wito wa kuwasaidia wanafunzi katika jamii zilizotengwa kwa kupunguza kiwango cha alama zinazohitajika kujiunga na vyuo vya walimu. Gavana Jama amesema kuna mipango ya kuwasilisha ombi rasmi kwa waziri wa elimu Ezekiel Machogu ili achukue hatua kuhusiana na swala hilo.
Viongozi wa eneo la kaskazini mashariki wametoa wito wa kujumuishwa wanafunzi kutoka jamii zilizoko katika maeneo tengwa katika tasnia ya ualimu. Wanadai alama wanazopata wanafunzi hao katika mitihani ya kitaifa haziafikii alama za kujiunga na vyuo vya mafunzo ya ualimu.
Leo nataka niombe rasmi waziri wa education kwamba we will come to you with a request for affirmative action in that regard to reduce the minimum entry for the college here to be D+.
Akiongea katika chuo cha mafunzo ya ukulima ambapo alizindua mpango wa ufadhili wa elimu katika kaunti ya Garissa, gavana Nadhif Jama alisema sekta ya elimu katika eneo hilo imeathirika pakubwa kwani hakuna walimu wa kutosha kutoka eneo hilo.
We need to feel that we are getting the required advantage from this college. It will be unfair if we continue feeling kwamba watu from other counties are benefiting more here when we can actually have our girls and boys more to join this college.
Kulingana na viongozi hao, chuo cha mafunzo cha ualimu cha Garissa kinakabiliwa na tatizo la idadi ndogo ya wanafunzi.
Hatutaki hii college ya pekee ambayo tunayo hapa close because such may be a requirement.
Mwaka 2019 swala hilo liliibuka tena huku tume ya kuajiri walimu ikipinga uamuzi huo ikisema utaadhiri ubora wa tajriba ya walimu. Ruth Wamboi, Kurunzi Mashinani.
Na mtazamaji, wakazi wa eneo la Kijiwe Tanga lililoko eneo bunge la Malindi kaunti ya Kilifi waliandamana kulalamikia kuhusu kile wanachokitaja ukosefu wa umeme katika eneo hilo. Wakazi hao wamesema nyaya za stima zinaning'inia karibu na miti na hakuna hatua yoyote iliyochukuliwa na kampuni ya umeme ya Kenya Power kutatua tatizo hilo. Wakiongozwa na kapteni mstaafu John Kai, wakazi hao pia walilalamikia hasara kubwa wanayopata kufuatia kuharibikia kwa vifaa vyao vya nyumbani kila mara umeme unapopotea.
When we called the call center, they said that the problem had been identified and had been sorted out, and in fact the reference number had been closed, meaning that we were supposed to have power, but there was no power. We got frustrated. We gathered as a community. This is a problem that is affecting about 15 homes or 15 houses.
So this is a place that we have a lot of problem with power. And when we report to the regional office, the usual answer you get is that they know and they are going to respond. But when it comes to responding, they usually take a very long time to respond. You can even call them on daily basis, they'll give you the same answer, but they won't come and rectify the situation.
Hata it is not even safe kuacha mtoto kwa nyumba au operate vitu za stima peke yake. Unaona? Sasa kuwa sisi hatuna stima, jirani yako ako na stima. Hiyo ndio kusema nini? Unajua ingekuwa area yote haina stima, tungeelewa. Ni shida kubwa, maybe ni transformer ama ni kitu ingine, lakini watu 15 sisi tushughulikiwe.
Mtazamaji, migogoro ya ardhi imeorodheshwa kuwa chanzo kikuu cha mashambulizi ya kigaidi ya mara kwa mara katika kaunti ya Lamu. Haya ni kwa mujibu wa utafiti uliofanywa na shirika la Haki Yetu kwa ushirikiano na shirika la Muhuri na serikali ya kaunti ya Lamu. Utafiti huo ulifanywa katika kipindi cha mwaka mmoja uliopita. Mashirika hayo matatu sasa yanatoa wito kwa serikali ya kitaifa na ile ya kaunti ya Lamu kutathmini upya sera za umiliki wa ardhi ili kuratibu mfumo wa kuwapa makazi wakimbizi wa ndani kwa ndani katika kaunti ya Lamu na eneo nzima la Pwani. Hata hivyo, mashirika hayo pia yamesema mashambulizi ya kigaidi katika eneo hilo yana uhusiano wa moja kwa moja na mizozo ya ardhi, kwani magaidi wengi hutekeleza maovu yao migogoro ya ardhi inapozuka.
Swala la ardhi ndio chanzo cha mizozo yote, mauaji yote.
Kwa hivyo lazima wawe resettle kama watu wengine ili tuone ile haki na usawa patikana.
Kujaribu kuona kwamba masuala ya ardhi yanatatuliwa na pia mizozo ama zile athari ambazo zimekuwepo zinapata suluhu pia. Wakazi wa Lamu waweze kuishi bila kuwa na ule wasiwasi kwamba watafurushwa.
Kama county government tumeanza kufanya planning na survey ambao sasa hii so far tuko na Moa, tuko na Koreni, tuko na Ndau na other part of Lamu.
Serikali ya kaunti ya Kilifi imeboresha hazina ya wezesha inayotoa mikopo ya riba za chini ili kufanikisha biashara ndogo katika eneo hilo. Naibu gavana wa kaunti ya Kilifi Flora Mbetsa Chibule amesema vijana wanapaswa kutumia fursa hiyo kubuni vikundi vya kibiashara ili waweze kunufaika na 30% ya fedha zilizotengewa makundi maalum.
Baadhi ya vijana katika kaunti ya Kilifi walijitokeza kwa wingi kudhihirisha talanta zao pamoja na bidhaa walizotengeneza wakati wa maonyesho ya kibiashara ya Mekatilili ya mwaka huu yaliyoandaliwa na kampuni ya kidijitali ya Nord. Naibu gavana wa kaunti ya Kilifi Flora Mbetsa Chibule amesema kwamba wenye biashara ndogo katika eneo hilo hivi karibuni watanufaika na hazina iliyoboreshwa ya kutoa mikopo ya riba nafuu.
Ambao wana manage small businesses, tumekwenda upgrade uwezo fund, tumeita kuwezesha. Kwa nini itakuwezesha zaidi? Ni kwa sababu the annual amount which is 100 million tumeweza kuiwekeza katika banki yetu hapa Cooperative Bank ambao ametupatia mara 5 ya hiyo pesa.
Emmanuel Baraka ambaye ni mwenyekiti wa kamati andalizi ya maonyesho ya kibiashara ya Mekatilili aliwahimiza vijana katika eneo hilo kuungana na kubuni mikakati ya kujipatia ajira kupitia maarifa na rasilimali zilizopo.
Matokeo yanatupatia moyo kwamba si kwamba ni pesa ambayo tunahitaji, bali ni fikra ambazo tuko nazo kama vijana ambazo tuweza shirikiana pamoja kuweza kufanya jambo kubwa kama hili. Kwa hivyo vijana naomba kwamba waungane, wasione kwamba ni ajira tu ambayo itaweza kuwasaidia, bali waangalie katika upande mwingine.
Victoria Tieno ambaye ni kiongozi wa mpango wa kujua unaotekelezwa na shirika la soko Kenya alisema utengenezaji vidoso kwa kutumia malighafi yaliyopo ni kielelezo mwafaka kuhusu jinsi vijana wanaweza kutumia ubunifu kusuluhisha matatizo katika kijamii.
Majority of the people here are entrepreneurs. Like they are the companies around are very different, and you find that young men and women are coming out to start their own businesses. They are not sitting down to wait to be employed.
Pauline Nasimi, Kurunzi Mashinani.
Na mtazamaji, katika makala yetu ya leo kuhusu Ifahamu China, Zakia Peng anatupeleka katika mkoa wa Jilin ulioko kaskazini mashariki mwa China ambako teknolojia za kisasa zimesaidia wakazi kupata mavuno mengi katika eneo hilo lililokuwa kame. Pata makala hiyo.
Mambo na karibu katika kipindi cha Ifahamu China. Mimi ni Zakia Peng. Ardhi kame na isiyo na rutuba katika mji wa Da'an, mkoa wa Jilin, kaskazini mashariki mwa China, imebadilishwa kuwa shamba lenye tija kutokana na teknolojia ya hali ya juu kama vile 5G na droni. vinatumika kwa njia za kibunifu. Wataalam wa shamba hilo huendesha mashine za kilimo kama vile mashine za kuvunia wakiwa mbali na kituo cha shughuli za mashambani cha kisasa. Kutokana na msaada wa teknolojia ya kisasa, kufanya kazi ya kilimo ni kama kucheza mchezo wa video shambani. Huko Daan, mafundi kila siku wanakaa ofisini tu wakiwasha kinyonyozi na kunywa kahawa wanapofanya kazi. Vifaa vya kisasa vinaweza kuunganisha na kudhibiti mashine mbalimbali. Wanaweza kuendesha mashine ya kuvuna na kuipanga ijiendeshe kulingana na njia wanazoweka. Wataalamu wa shamba hilo wanatumia ndege zisizo na rubani kuchunguza mashamba na kufuatilia ukuaji wa mazao, huku ndege moja isiyo na rubani na mwendeshaji mmoja akifanya kazi ambayo hapo awali ingehitaji wakulima 50. Shamba hilo la akili bandia pia lina huduma kamili ya mtandao wa 5G, kituo cha hali ya hewa, mfumo mzuri wa mifereji ya maji na umwagiliaji, na mfumo wa akili bandia wa usimamizi wa shamba. Teknolojia hizi za hali ya juu za kidijitali zimeongeza ufanisi mkubwa katika uendeshaji wa shamba hilo. Wengi wa wataalam ni vijana ambao wanatoka vijijini, ingawa wengi waliondoka kwenye miji ya karibu kwa ajili ya kazi au masomo. Sasa wanarejea kwao wakitumai kujifunza teknolojia za hali ya juu na za mtandao shambani na kuchangia maendeleo ya mji wao. Shenqiang, mmoja wa mafundi wa shamba hilo, alisema zamani walikuwa wanatumia jembe au kuendesha trekta na kuhangaika shambani kutwa mzima, lakini sasa hawahitaji tena kufanya kazi kwa njia hiyo. Wanakaa ofisini wakifanya kazi nyingine za kilimo. Li Xue, mfanyakazi mwenza wa Shen, alisema amechagua kurejea mashambani na kufanya kazi ya kilimo kwa sababu katika shamba hili nguvu ya wafanyakazi imepunguzwa, huku mshahara wake ukiongezeka maradufu. Pan Xiuqiang, mkurugenzi wa shamba hilo linalotumia akili bandia, alisema anatumai kuwa katika siku zijazo ardhi kame inaweza kubadilishwa kuwa mashamba yanayotumia akili bandia ili kuhakikisha usalama wa chakula kwa watu. Haya, kwa leo kipindi hiki kinaishia hapa. Katika kipindi kijacho nitaendelea kukuletea mambo mengine yanayovutia kuhusu utamaduni na jamii ya China. Asante kwa kuwa nami. Mimi ni Zakia Peng. Kwa heri.
Na mtazamaji, makala hiyo ya Zakia Pong ya Ifahamu China inatukamilishia Kurunzi Mashinani Jumatatu ya leo. Nasema shukrani sana kwa wale wote waliofanikisha taarifa hizi. Shukrani za dhati wewe mtazamaji kwa muda wako. Mimi ni Khalid Abdullahi. Lensa Odingo ndio alinisaidia kwa lugha ishara. Na kusiusi ndamali kwenye mwenzangu O'Brien Kimani yuko katika upande mwingine wa studio kukuletea mahojiano ya moja kwa moja. Kwa heri.
Watch what you're saying, Irazabal. Julio wouldn't do it. Didn't you see him on stage accusing you?
No! Daddy, please stop it! Please stop it!
Forget about that love because it cannot happen. Because it's not allowed. You and my son cannot be together.
Amparo is the only woman I love in this world, Fabiola. I'm not giving her up.
think Fabiola is not a bad woman, but she's not what I thought she was. I think that you should forget about her. That's the best thing you can do, really.
Kupata mtumaini Mungu kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *815#.
Mtumaini Mwenyezi Mungu kwa moyo wako wote, wala usitegemee akili zako mwenyewe. Umtambue Mungu katika kila ufanyalo, naye atazinyosha njia zako. Usijione wewe mwenyewe kuwa mwenye hekima. Mche Mwenyezi Mungu na kujiepusha na uovu. Methali 3:5-7. Kumbe uovu huwajia wasiojiepusha na huo uovu. Tazama, unahitaji kufanya moja tu bila gharama.
Kupata mtumaini Mungu, bonyeza *811 *815#.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustle of funds?
When your children sleep hungry, when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table.
So the 500 you're giving me now is my purchasing power has literally been diminished comparing to probably even January or December.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
In terms of the amount of money that is being disbursed, the minimum being 500 shillings, how do you scorecard that?
No, that I'll give it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
What is the impact of the Hustlers Fund?
There are people who borrow praying they don't have to pay back. For example, they pray that the owner dies.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened live. We'll let you know what you missed, even if you were present.
And our goal is to continue supporting our own.
From the latest celebrity buzz,
fashion,
music,
and all manner of youth talents,
the Grapevine cameras rove all week to bring you the latest in the enormous entertainment scene.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m. and the rerun on Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1, baby.
Engage us on Facebook and Twitter, #Grapevine on KBC. Let us know what is happening in your area code, because you know what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine,
then it most probably never happened. Bah!
Ain't nobody gotta tell you what you gotta do.
Unajua nikionanga mtoto ya shule anasurura hivi na uniform, wakati ki watoto wengine kwa klasi anasoma na sigana jamu kwa. Unafanya nini hapa na wengine kusoma?
Tafuta baba yangu.
Baba yako gani kwa hapa anakufanana?
Nipatana pale na mtu mwingine kwa hoteli. Ananiongelesha vibaya.
Nani anakuongelesha pale? Hujamwambia wewe ni mtoto wangu?
Hajui.
Hajui? Atajua hajui, ndio atajua mimi na nani.
Unafikiria mimi mwenyewe nimefurahi kukuona? Mimi ningejuaje ni wewe ndio unakuja hapa? Hata ningejua ni wewe singeshinda nikingangana ati kwa simu na kuongelesha bwana. Unasikia umeniwestia time hata mimi.
Aya, kinachokuchekesha.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're looking at the impact of the ongoing mass demonstrations on our economy as well as our social life. And we're in the company of George Mburu, who is the CEO of Mizizi Homes Africa, and Chris Otieno, who is a member of the Protective and Safety Association of Kenya. They are trying to help us understand various scenarios and, of course, the way forward. Well, welcome again. Welcome back, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for sticking with us. There's a question that I had asked George Mburu as to why we're not seeing so much, business activities, especially around the CBD, despite the heavy police presence there. Is it that people are afraid of the protesters, or they don't feel comfortable that the security provided by security officers is enough?
Thank you very much. For sure, people and Kenyans, what they are looking for is a conducive environment for doing business. And nobody wants to get involved in areas where there are skirmishes. And whether you're going to do business, whether you're going to work, whether you're going to do anything, nobody feels safe when you can imagine you can be met with either tear gas, or you can be met with a stone being pelpeted by anybody. So basically people are afraid, even if there is the presence of the security. The presence of the security has been necessitated by the fact that there can arise chaos anytime. So that is why people are shying away, because for sure nobody wants to leave to go to work or to go to do your business, and along the way you find problems. So that is why people are shying away. And the encouragement here is we need to bring a conducive environment for our country so that we can go back to work. We have come from Corona. Then recently there was a drought, but we want to thank God that there has been rains. So people now need to go back to work, and people do not want to be given free things. People want a conducive environment for doing business.
Very good. Chris, how would you respond to that question?
There are many reasons why people are not opening up their business. First and foremost is from a risk mitigation perspective. We know that any mass demonstration from the history of our nation has been with a lot of violence, a lot of property destruction and loss of life. So what majority of business people are doing is to mitigate the risk of possibly having a stretch on their investment. I've put some money in this investment, I've put a lot of nice things to protect my investment, but I'm not going to allow or expose my investment to destruction. The next thing, there's been a lot of advice from multi-agencies, even for example, PROSAC and the other security associations, advising business operatives that because of mass demonstrations are going to be there on these dates, and because of the history we know that comes with it, and the advantages that people take over it, it will be advisable for you to close down your business. So it's a mitigation response, and it is a business continuity plan. I don't want to have my business destroyed or banned today so that I don't continue tomorrow. No, there must be that allowance, for me to not expose myself and allow that kind of thing.
Is this generated from, our historical lessons?
Yes, we've learned a lot from our history in terms of demonstrations. For example, from demonstrations. All these demonstrations that have happened in Nairobi, with Nairobi being epicenter, there's been a lot of destruction, there's a lot of looting, there's been loss of life, there's been a lot of violence in all these things, right? And what you will see from the common mwananchi, who is the buyer, who is the economy driver, shying away from epicenters or areas that they know there's going to be this kind of a thing. So why would I open my shop? There's not going to be a buyer, then I'm also exposed to a risk. So the best thing for me to do, to reduce my risk to as low as is reasonably possible, is to shut down my business.
And that's what is exactly happening.
That is exactly what is happening.
Are we likely to get to a situation whereby if the police say that, there will be peace, then you buy that line and you open your business?
Of course, there is going to be a gradual return to normalcy, a gradual return to business. If the IG of police came today and announced today what we know is happening, that there's peace, we still know there are demonstrations out there, we still know there's one planned for Thursday. Unless the leaders go out in public and say, we have now called off these mass demonstrations, then that critical assurance that any business person needs for him to go back to normalcy or reopen the business is not given for now. So there must be that time when we get there that we have a call-off by the organizers, and there's an agreement between the two sides, the government and the organizers, that this is the end of it. And when that is announced, there's like telling us all is clear, let's go back to business, and we will do exactly that.
George, how much more are businesses going to bleed financially before we can hear now the business community saying, hey, look here, as investors in this country, this is taking a toll on us.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. You realize that everybody, the reason why even the mass demonstration or peaceful demonstrations are being called is because there's a problem in our economy. So for us to heal as a cancer, we can treat the symptoms, but the problem is that the economy is doing badly. So that is a problem, and the reason why there are people that are idle, and when they are called upon to go and demonstrate they are available, is because people are not engaged economically wise. So what we can treat now is the symptoms, that the leaders sit down, they see these economic demonstrations and the peaceful demonstrations are causing a toll on our economy, on our image of our country. They decide to sit down to decide, and then they sit down themselves. They say, let us call it a quit. Then from there, they sit down and come up with ways of how they are going to address this problem of youth unemployment, this problem of poor distribution of resources. Yeah, they address the issues of why there is a slow or no proper circulation of money within the economy, and some of the reasons is that we have a lot of our money stashed outside of the country. We need to have that money so that there can be that flow of cash flow in our market. Then we can also give the young people opportunities to be engaged. Because we have seen that there has been a disruption in the flow of the distribution chain. The young person is nowhere, because a manufacturer can manufacture anywhere and come and bring to the end user. We need to give our people work and jobs, because that is basically the problem. We need to have circulation of money in the country, because we can have a lot of food and there is no money to buy that food. So what we can treat by saying let us have talks is reducing the symptoms, but the real problem and what we need to cure is a problem of joblessness for the youth, because the youth are there, they are energetic, they just want a job and a conducive environment to do the jobs. If they are given that, even if anybody comes and calls for mass action, nobody is going to come out, because everybody is busy, everybody is full. But now the big problem is people are hungry, there's no flow of money, there's no, there are no jobs. That is a problem.
There are some quotas that are saying that, you know, a section of the politicians have taken advantage of the current economic plight in Kenya to further their own agenda. Do you agree with them?
Yes, I would agree. At some quarters, I would agree, and the reason why is the mass demonstrations are being backed up by a political call. It's a political class that have called these mass actions. I would agree one way or the other, and that some of them are furthering their interests. But that will need a lot of facts for me to support that. But then also, we are seeing how the situation is developing. Today we are hearing there's been an attack on Northlands, and we know that sometimes back one of the political class said, if you do this, we'll do this, and we are seeing that coming to crystallization. It's crystallizing, it's happening. So I would actually use that to support the fact, or the question that you say, that yes, there's some political interest in all these things, and it's called by a political class. Yes.
Well, and as you can see, you know, there are some clips of what's happening. This is Kibera.
Yes, this is Kibera.
I do understand. I think this is just next to the DC's office.
Yes.
As you can see, it's like you know, the police in some sort of a standoff with protesters. It's like they have established a red line whereby you know, protesters have been contained on one end, and the police are on the other side. And you can see one of probably maybe one of their seniors,
yes,
radioing their people, probably maybe telling them that the situation is under control. Would you imagine the same?
From what is happening on the ground, I do believe that the leaders of this Mandamano are trying to get themselves into Kibera. So this is a main entrance from Gong Road into entering Kibera. So what we are saying is that they've formed a block that those leaders will not get into Kibera from this direction. So basically, I think what the leader of this team is communicating is a status of their position, and also getting updates on what is happening in the other areas, because I think they have a tactical approach to block the whole team from entering Kibera, with Kibera being the epicenter of all these.
And I'm also seeing a situation whereby, you know, some people are being restricted from proceeding, like that motorcyclist. I think he just wanted to link up with the link road, but I think he has been turned back. Yes. So it seems like the police are trying to send a message to the people here. That's another one who has been told no access.
Right.
But as you can see from here, you know, the businesses have closed down. Nothing much is happening, and this is where I want to hear from George Mboro. When investors, you know, overseas investors, you know, are seeing this kind of images, what do they conclude?
Sure. The conclusion is that the atmosphere is not conducive for business, and when we are talking of a conducive business environment, is a business whereby people are able to move freely. And business is a flow of goods and people. When there is no that flow of business and people, that is when we say there is no conducive environment for business. So such an atmosphere is definitely not conducive for business. And what we can encourage is we need people working together. And this is not only here in Kenya. People now, because of the digitalization, people want to trade with each other. Because we know some of the policies that have been put in place, they are to discourage that flow of people, flow of goods. Because basically that is what we call business or trade. That flow of business and trade. So when we do this as a country, we are discouraging tourists. We are discouraging foreign direct investors. We are discouraging anybody who would be interested to come and set a business in our country, which at the end of the day, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Because when our country is performing poorly economically, it is not only the common man that is getting hurt, but even the elite and the politicians. Eventually, it will get to them, and they will also feel the heat. It's only that the common man is the first person to get affected. And when there's that war or fight between the politicians, at the end of the day, the Mwananchi is the one who suffers, and economy is the one that suffers. And by extension, also because they are Kenyans, they will also at some point feel the heat. It may not be immediate, but maybe sooner or later.
I'm seeing a situation whereby even vehicles are now being turned back, and they're not allowing vehicles to go in. I don't know what criteria they are using. You know, some of the vehicles are being allowed to go in, others are being turned away. Do you want to second guess what they are thinking?
I think this point is a point of vetting, where anybody coming in and going out is being vetted. And also I think the other objective of the particular point is not to allow anybody in or not to allow anybody out. So I believe that the police operatives who are on site right now and vetting and allowing this vehicle are allowing those vehicles for a reason. And I believe for a very good reason. Not just anyhowly, but from what I'm seeing, the order of operation there is nobody goes, nobody goes in, nobody goes out. Particularly motorized movement. No in, no out.
But help me understand this, or help us understand this, because I can see the people there. You know, the situation looks calm. I'm not seeing unruly people here. Why are the police officers restricting movement?
Like I mentioned in my earlier statement, they must have an operational objective. And the operational objective here, from what I know, is to stop the Azimio leaders from accessing Kibera. So they've probably cordoned the whole of Kibera. At specific entry or access points of Kibera, you'll find police station in the way they are stationed here, and that is what is ensuing across Kibera. So it's to stop the Azimio people from getting in, because once they get in, then the whole situation could change. It would flip the coin to the other side, and things might just go on the other side. Yes.
But again, I mean, at the same time, aren't you hindering people from, people with genuine business cases or genuine reasons, from engaging with their daily activities?
Yes, it would be, but at the same time, they'll be protecting them. If we allow them to open their business now, right, and then the chaos ensue, what are we seeing? There are some opportunities person who take advantage of the situation, loot those shops, and there'll be so many other reports coming in. There'll be damage to property, which is part of the job that the police are doing, to protect property, protect life, and this kind of thing. So the best way to mitigate all these risks that are encircling these occurrences is purely to just stop all business. And you can even see from the photos, even car washes have been shut down. Roadside sellers, mama mbogas, water, wamefunga. There is equipment to really counter a possibility of escalation from where we're seeing right now. So nearly every business is at standstill. The only business there is movement, people movement, walking back home.
I don't know whether my eyes can see clearly, but I can see, it seems like, the road is blocked with stalls. Can you see that?
I am seeing roads. Seeing stalls right in the middle of the road. Right in the middle of the road. I would not second guess whether it's a blockage or that's the normal status of that area. I really have no idea. But yes, I see what you're seeing. Stalls right in the middle of the road. Yes. And
as you can see, there is that feared water cannon. Yes. People have always speculated what the water in that truck contains. Do you have any idea? Some people say you end up scratching yourself, you become blind. Do you have any idea?
It wouldn't cause blindness, but I know the pressure from it would, of course, destabilize you. The pressure from it.
It's only the pressure?
The discharge pressure is high. Yes.
There is nothing like chemical to make you
I would really want a lab person to tell us that. I don't want to second guess, but I know it's a water cannon from the name. So from the pressure, it's able to push you back. Or you make the surface very slippery for you if you want to advance forward or do something like that. But it's preventative, purely preventative approach to a gathering or to a demonstration.
What would happen to that water in case they hit you in the head?
Of course, you'll have some injuries, and some of it could even be fatal, depending on how it hits you, right? Because if the water was discharged at that pressure, that speed, right on your eye or on your head, of course, that is a force enough to push you back, destabilize you from your standing position, probably lead your head down very badly, and the result of that is a crack on your cranium, and that is another level of injury. Yeah.
And as you can see, the matatus are still operating there. Not really worried about, the police officers. These are the dreaded members of the General Service Unit. And as you can see, people are not really worried about their presence here. They're actually going on with their business completely unperturbed. And you're saying that this is just a stopgap measure to ensure that members of the Azimio do not have access to Kibera.
I believe so, and I really want to be firm on that. And you can see what I was saying, a lot of improvement in our police force. You can see what they're doing. In the middle of a mandamano, they're just there trying to vet people, giving directions, doing what. But then we are saying as soon as the leaders get in there, probably everything might change. I had the IG say they'll arrest the leader of Azimio. That could be some tipping point for all these, how the supporters would react, and the spiral effects of that kind of an arrest and the spiral effect of their reactions. And we'd actually now start feeling the pinch and probably even change our measurement of how they are performing in this mandamano. Yes.
George, I don't know from a business community perspective, I don't know whether you're having any conversations with, opposition leaders or the government to try and see whether you can, appease the tension.
Sure. Yeah, what I can say is that for sure prevention is better than cure, and what the police here are trying to do is to prevent. to prevent any looting, to prevent any loss of lives, which is something that is commendable. I'm also happy because the Mwananchi is just calm, awaiting to go back to the normal day-to-day, which is what we are looking for. We are looking at going back to our normalcy. We know we have come from Corona. We have come from a very hard period of drought. Over 40 years, it has not been experienced in our country, but now we are experiencing it. And also there is now the big problem of cash flow. Our country, there's a lot of cash flow crunch. There's a lot of, there's no dollar, which is something that has been reported. And this is because basically all over the world, the business has been disrupted, not only by Corona, but also the fights that are going on in the Ukraine. And this is a global phenomenon. And what I want to encourage everybody, let's not aggravate already a bad matter. It's already bad enough that you are coming from hard times. Let's not aggravate the issues by calling for demonstrations. The people who are much interested in actually our country being united and being peaceful are our leaders, because our leaders, they first of all get the bigger cake. Then we as the Mwananchi, our work is to get, to work hard and get whatever little remains. So the encouragement here is, let us as a country, as a people, call for togetherness. If it calls for dialogue, let there be dialogue. But from today's demonstrations and the way people have not come out clearly, it also shows that people are hungry. People do not have that zeal, they don't have the energy to go and throw the stones. So this one also should be
are they hungry, or maybe they are busy?
Busy
with their daily life. But we are not going to sit here and assume that Kenyans are not hardworking.
No, they are hardworking. But if you do not have a job, what are you working hard for? You first of all have to have the job. Then now you move again forward to work hard. But now we are talking about not having the work itself. Now the hard part will actually come automatically, because if you know you are gainfully employed somewhere, like for example yourself, can you fail to come and work here at the KBC and you go and start throwing stones? Of course not. Same case to everybody that is out there. It's only that they are not gainfully employed somewhere, and there is no that circulation of money, and there are no enough investors to give our young people jobs. That is the problem. So if that were there, for sure, you would not even be seeing people idling around, even wondering what is happening. Because everybody would be so much engaged, there would be no time to waste.
I mean, but I just want to counter your argument that, people are demonstrating because they don't have jobs. Right now, people are demonstrating in Paris, which is a first world economy that is in France. We have seen huge demonstrations even in United Kingdom, in Germany.
Greece.
We saw the same thing. We have always seen it, even in the US, the world's biggest economy. So is it really a question of being idle?
It's not a question of being idle. It's a question of the cause. What is the cause, the reason behind what is given for us to go to the streets? Just like you rightly mentioned, they're demonstrating in France because of something to do with pension. Right? The reason given by Azimio leaders in this particular mandamano is the high cost of living, presidential election, the results and the outcomes, and things like that. Right? Now, if you want to respond rightly why the numbers are low and why the numbers are not low, you need to look at these factors critically. Critically examine and lay these factors bare. Number one, let's look at the claim that elections were stolen, right? We have a demystifying matter here where the Supreme Court came and said the elections were okay. International community said the same thing, right? And both sides had agreed that we will agree to the outcomes of the declaration coming from the Supreme Court, right? So one way or the other we are seeing that what has happened there before has demystified the numbers that have possibly turned out for this matter. Had that not happened, then probably you'll be seeing the numbers very high.
The situation will be worse.
And even the administration will be much worse, isn't it? So they're demystifying reasons, the underlying factors that are really leading everything to the direction of the numbers where they are, which if we're not there, and then we'll be talking something really.
And the other thing is that, when you look at some of the demands set out by Azimio Umoja, one of them, they are talking about electoral justice. Probably maybe you help us understand what is that. And then the other things is that they are telling the government to open the servers. Which servers? Because the servers belong to IEBC. And IEBC is the custodian of these servers. And then number two, when we talk about servers, do we assume that a server is like a room where you just open, you find things in the room, or is some sort of a stadium that is closed, you just go in and you explore?
I want to be very fair in responding to that question. Number one, I'm not a politician, and I don't understand politics much more than a non-politician. But they have a reason that they are calling for those servers to be open. They have that reason, which is not been opened to some of us, right? And the government too has reasons why they are saying these servers cannot be open. But we know in security that we have cyber security issues that arise from here and there, right? There could have been some entry to those servers. We don't know. We don't have a report on that. I don't have, as Chris Otieno, as a consultant, I don't have that, right? But there has been those loud calls that this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, right? And I believe when this case was being handled, that time, enough credible witnesses and evidence was laid bare to the High Supreme Court to be able to look at them and deliberate upon that. But like I say, the political class know the reasons behind what they are calling, what they're really calling for. But we know that this call for electoral injustice in this country is time and memorial thing. Like my brother said here, it's high time we find a lasting solution, that we don't end up again rallying Monenchi or rallying ourselves along the call that there's an electoral injustice or something like that. It's high time we bring ourselves to the level that there'll be no that claim. But I don't think there'll be that time, because even the US themselves, who are the holders of these servers that run these domains, Gmail, Yahoo, and these things like that, they too have those kinds of complaints. So the complexity in that complaint, Mr. O'Brien, is something out of probably our reach.
I like the fact that you have brought in the issue of the United States, which is definitely a technology superpower, globally. But we saw in 2021 the former president, Donald Trump, saying that the election was stolen and the election was not fair. And that's how the mobsters ended up in Capitol Hill. But I also want to hear from you. I mean, it is true that, as a country, we are going through an economic rough patch, whereby, the economy is not growing as fast as it was expected. The weather has not been very kind to us. We're just coming out of a highly debilitating drought that has affected more than 2 million people. And of course, the international event, the war between Ukraine and Russia, has really made international goods like oil and grain to be very expensive. That much is true. But is the situation as bad as being painted by some section of the opposition?
One thing you'll note, there's a report that was done by the Auditor General, and the Auditor General was very categorical that there's so much money that should be circulating within our Kenyan economy, but it is not. And she was categorical that it is better, even if that money was gained unlawfully, or it was not done in the right manner, that money ought to be brought back to the country. If that money is brought back to the country, and if the people that have stashed the money out there are not willing, they are given some sort of a timeline return that money within this and this time. If it is not possible, the government can go ahead and have a bilateral agreement with the countries where the money is stashed, and that money is brought back to our country as a first priority, so that we have circulation of money within our country. We ensure that first of all, before we even look for any other way of looking for money to circulate within our market, let us get the Kenyan money that has been stashed out of the country to come and start circulating within the country. If that happens, and as we also open our market, our Kenyan market, with the free trade, encouraging people to trade, encouraging people to do business, for sure this problem, we are going to sort it within the shortest time possible. But now, the issue with the politicians, they talk what the masses want to hear. If the masses want to hear the cost of hunger is high, that is what they are going to say. But bottom line is the economists and the technocrats who have been advising the government previously, the technocrats who advised the former president, our late Mwai Kibaki, who came up with the Vision 2030. Those are the drawing board we need to go back to, so that we can know how are we going to resuscitate our economy. How can we ensure that our economy is able to feed everybody? Yeah, those technocrats, they did a very good job in the Vision 2030. We need to see these technocrats back. We need to see them giving proposals, and those proposals should be adhered to. For example, the example that we got from the Auditor General, that there is so much money. You can imagine she's talking from a point of information, because an Auditor General is somebody who is very senior. She is more than an accountant, which means she understands.
She has access to a lot of
information.
Yes.
So some of these
classified.
Some classified information. We need also, we as the public, to start asking questions. Why is nothing being done? This is an Auditor General who has been given that mandate by the government. Why is her proposals, or the proposals, they are not seeing the day of light, the light of day?
Very good. And I like the fact that you have brought in the issue of, the billions, stashed abroad. And that is one of the challenges that we are facing as a nation. That's why there is not so much money circulating in our economy. And so probably maybe it's high time that, as a country, we entered into agreements with some of these countries where these billions are stashed in. And we saw this with Nigeria, whereby more than $1 billion was repatriated back to the country, which was owned by the former president, the late Sani Abacha. So probably maybe that's an idea that we need to explore. But I also want to hear from you, Chris. This is not the first time that we are finding ourselves in this situation. We had electoral violence back in the year 2017. Actually, even before then, because remember, we in 1992 we had elections. There was chaos, tribal clashes in some parts of Rift Valley, and some parts of Nyanza, some parts of Laikipia. In 1997, the same thing happened. Then in 2002, there was a little bit of peace. Then in 2007, we erupted as a nation again. And in 2012, you remember again, there was also chaos because of what was called electoral malpractices. In 2017, the same thing, and that led to the famous handshake. In 2022 again, here we are again, 2023. I mean, is it that we cannot have free and fair elections that all of us can agree to?
I want to say categorically that free and fair elections is the dream of every nation. And as a nation, Kenya, we must also fall in that dream, and we must really dream right. But I think the main problem is the unwillingness of the leading administration to take action to really ensure that these claims of electoral malpractice are not going to come in the following electoral time. The only challenge here becomes is that when there's a change of administration, right, you will see that each and every administration wants everything to work in its favor. The opposition will raise issues and the government will raise issues, but at the end of the day, we don't get that intentional solution to these kinds of practices. But if we could get that, then this will be done away and we'll see our face into the next phase of elections. But I'm happy to say, and also quote, that yes, gradually we'll be seeing some advancement in terms of how we elect our leaders. We'll be seeing some advancement in how our election results have been coming out and how the country in general has been handling the announcement of these election results. What we saw in 2022 as a result of elections was a pure reflection of some advancement in our democracy, some advancement in our political system, some advancement on how we are receptive, we receive these results in the various areas of the country. And this is what I was saying initially, that we are seeing a maturity, some form of maturity coming into our country, and us going to political acceptance and political tolerance and going on that when things gradually improve.
Very good. Yeah. Well, we are just live here from Broadcasting House, and of course we're giving you an update on what's happening in regard to the protest and demonstrations that have rocked some parts of the country, like in Nairobi, in Homa Bay, in Kisumu, in Migori. And generally, the situation has been calm, and the pictures or the images that you're seeing behind me, this is Kibera, which is usually highly restive at times like these, but as you can see, there isn't much that is happening here. The police have managed to contain the crowd, and right now we just want to go into the heart of Kibera and get an update from our reporter Timothy Kipnusu. We were with him on Gong Road, whereby he gave us an update. Time now for him to update us from the Kibera. Timothy, if you can hear me, what's the latest? Well, Timothy Kipnusu, I don't know whether you can hear me, but if you can hear us, do you have any update for us from Kibera? Well, I think we have lost Timothy Kipnusu, who is our reporter on the ground. He's tracking the happenings in Kibera constituency. We are with him on Gong Road, whereby we could see clearly that that very busy highway was clear, and we didn't have any demonstrations. There were no protesters in the street. We'll be linking up with him wherever he is. I'm sure our engineers are trying to create that connection. But if you're just joining us, we are live from Broadcasting House. We are revisiting the Monday Maandamanos, and of course giving you an update on what has happened in various parts of the country. If you just joined us and you would want to share your opinion and of course your pictures of where you are to give us an idea of how the situation is, then we welcome that interaction. At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle, and at KBC Channel 1 is our Twitter handle. We are in the company of two gentlemen who have been helping us to put the whole day into perspective, and this is none other than George Mboro. He's the CEO of Mrs. Homes Africa, and Chris Otieno, who is a member of the Protective and Safety Association of Kenya. The two gentlemen are in the studio with us, and of course we shall be sharing more with him. I'm being told that finally we have managed to get that connection with Timothy Kipnusu. Kipnusu, if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to speed with what's happening in Kibera constituency. Timothy Kipnusu, are you there?
We are here at Kwachif area in Kibera constituency, and this is an area where it's an entry point to the Kibera constituency. And as you can see, security has been beefed up to the latter, and the security personnel are ensuring that anyone going through this route, bearing in mind this is the route heading to where the Azimio leader Raila Odinga is holding the rally and the demos and of course the PSV, the public service vehicles, are not allowed. All public service vehicles have been only have been turned away, not entering this route of Kwa Chief in Kibera. Also, the residents from this area who are also making their way, they have been they closely monitored to ensure that they are not a risk to any a risk to the area of this particular. And of course, it's important to note that only the private vehicles are allowed, but after being whisked by the police to identify if at all they have any anything that might be dangerous to the common mwananchi. And of course, I made to understand that Raila Odinga might not be making his way to this route of Kwa Chief. Got some information that he might be going to Langata from where he is at the moment. So that's the situation here at Kwa Chief. Behind me there is the police vehicles, of course, having the tear gas, and of course also having water to ensure that if anything happens, emergency, or perhaps maybe the demonstrators make their way in this area, they're able to calm the situation. But everything is going on as normal in this particular area. Only for a few of the residents who normally conduct their business in this area, they have been forced to close. But the other section ready to pass by, business is going on as usual. But the residents are on the lookout just to ensure that if there is anything of risk, maybe there's something that might occur, they are all actually alert just to ensure that the demonstrators don't take advantage by looting their properties. Of course, bearing in mind that has been the situation today in Kwangware, in 46 area, and of course 56. They are actually using that opportunity to loot from the innocent citizens. So security here in Kwa Chief still beefed up to the latter. Police on the lookout just to ensure that things run smoothly and there's no cause for alarm here in Kwa Chief. And of course we'll be able to update our viewers or anything that will be unfolding here in Kwa Chief area, the entry point to Kibera constituency. So all the journalists are actually here waiting to understand if at all the Azimio leader will be making his way out from this particular area, or rather he will be going to the other side of Langata. But probability is that he will be going to Langata, bearing in mind that the police have taken their position here to ensure that no cars are allowed except for a number of private vehicles, maybe the residents who are going back home after their daily activities or coming from work. So that is the situation, and we will be able to update our viewers as things unfold here in Kwa Chief, Kibera constituency.
Let me have your number.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Timothy Kipnusu, and of course for bringing us that update. Timothy Kipnusu is coming to us live from Kibera constituency, and that is where the Azimio la Umoja Brigade is headed. I'm being informed that they are addressing their supporters in Kibera constituency, and police have really tried to block them from accessing many places in that highly populous region or county, constituency. And right now they are being contained in one of the areas there, and police have really tried to block many exits and entry points to Kibera constituency. And Chris was just reminding me that Kibera constituency has so many exits and entry points, and he was talking about 15 locations. I'm not very sure about that, but probably maybe he knows the place better than I do. And right now, the Azimio team is briefing or is addressing their supporters. We have seen the address by Mathare, who was the running mate to Raila Odinga in the just concluded elections that were held in August last year. We have also seen the address by Kalonzo Musyoka, as well as Raila Odinga. They've been, briefing their supporters, at various stops, and our reporters have been tracking the movements, and of course they're working on comprehensive pieces for 7 o'clock as well as for 9 o'clock. Remember, we keep on dashing in and out of our studios just to link up with our reporters who are stationed in strategic parts of the city, as well as other areas like Mombasa, Kisumu, and so on. We also here in studio with a team of experts who are guiding us, experts in business, experts in social issues, as well as security, so that they can help us understand the happenings there. And I was just asking or inquiring from Chris why the police that we have seen there in Kibera, they don't mind allowing private vehicles to go through or to go past the barrier, but they have a problem with motorcyclists. Why is that happening?
I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to think from an operational perspective why that would be. But I think because of the ability of motorcycles and their agility to get to one area or the other. So probably they could be used to very fast transfer people from one point to where they are needed. From that perspective, that'd be my line of thought. But for the vehicles, four-wheelers who are coming in there, it would be easy to actually vet the persons who are there, and of course you'd easily know where they'll be headed to. For example, we've seen a number of parastatal motor vehicles driving into the area where police are stationed. But for motorbikes, the speed at which they can deliver persons to the area that they are required probably is the reason why they're being stopped from accessing Kibera through this Kwachief entrance. My thought, yeah.
That is your thoughts. What about you, Boro?
Yeah, sure. Would also think the same, because for sure, a motorbike is very swift. They can get in even weapons very fast, and what the police are trying to do is reduce any cases of injuries, any cases preventing any crime or anything that can harm our economy and our image of our country. And what we need to look at very carefully is the image of our country, because our image of our country is very key, and that is why I would urge the political class, the elite, to use the Solomoic wisdom. Here we have our economy that is bleeding, not only from corona but also from drought. We have people who are crying. They apply the wisdom, the Solomoic wisdom, and the Solomoic wisdom. Solomon was brought a baby, and he was told this baby belongs to this mother, and the other mother was claiming it. And now he said, let us share the baby in halves, and the real mother, each mother will have one piece. So if the politicians can use that Solomoic wisdom, as opposed to us continue destroying the image of our country, continue destroying our economy, continue destroying our businesses, you have it, yeah? I will make sure that I will take good care of that baby. Even if it is you raising them up, that baby is still mine. So for anybody who cares about the common mwananchi, for anybody who cares about our country, for sure, I don't believe that causing mayhem is the way to go. And again, we normally say that politicians are political cousins. for you to access yeah.
The political cars, yes.
Yeah, they have access to each other. Like
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah, and that is something that we need to understand, you know, as a citizenry. That,
sure.
You know, the fact that sometimes we see our politicians on different platforms, you know, or opposing sides, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they are enemies.
It doesn't.
And as we have learned in politics, they are not permanent enemies. Because the people that are in Kenya Kwanza today, you know, were at some point in ODM. Sure. They were at some point on the other side of the opposition.
Some are even founder members.
Yes, some are founder members. Yes. Like Musalia Mudavadi, he was a member of CORD, yes. He was a member of NASA, Pentagon as well. You know, the president was also a founding member of the Pentagon back in the year 2007, 2006 actually. And so this is something that we ought to learn, you know, as a people, that you know, our differences, we need to tolerate our differences, that we can disagree and agree to live harmoniously and to live, you know, to coexist together. Because, I mean, no one of us has more rights than the other. All of us, we are Kenyans. We share the same rights. And this is our only country, unfortunately. We, you know, we don't have Kenya B, as we keep on saying. And so it behoves each one and every one of us to ensure that we live here harmoniously and we coexist with each other, regardless of our political differences, religious differences, and so much. And this is where I wanted to come back to you, Chris, so that you can also help us understand what would they take for us to enjoy peace, or for these kind of demonstrations to come to an end?
The only thing, from my lines of thought, that would make us have peace in this country is the leadership. If we have right leadership, people who put their personal interests at bay and look at the national interest and the interest of each and every person, and we move as a block, then I think we'd have a lot of things that are in common. But nevertheless, that would be an ideal situation which would be not easy to reach. Because we have different thoughts. We are all created with different.
It requires a lot of political compromise.
A lot of political compromise, which would not be easy. All right, would not be easy. And that would take a long time. Probably might even realize it in this decade or the next decade. It would take something more than that to come into place. Yes.
I mean, if you can see, if you just look at that clip there seems to be a man who is somehow getting into trouble with members of the police there.
Yes.
I don't know why the argument.
I probably tried to force his way or something. Probably came too close. Well, still insisting.
It's probably maybe what he doesn't understand is that this is another kind of a situation that you know, you have to use your your power or your might, you know, to try and force through, because the police, I'm sure they've been given firm orders.
Very firm instructions.
ABCD should not happen. And earlier on, we saw a photographer there with his camera clicking on. And I wanted to hear from you. I mean, how do you judge or rate the performance of the media in terms of the coverage of these events, in terms of analysis, and in terms of information asymmetry?
You guys have done a super job. You guys have kept us abreast of what is happening, and not just in few parts of the country, almost countrywide. And for us in security area, we use this kind of information that you guys give to analyze situations and give our site reports on what is happening across. Because most of the time it's on camera, and cameras don't lie. They tell you the truth. They tell you what is on the ground. Because what we are seeing here is exactly what is happening there. So we use the information that you guys gather out there, put it into one, and also able to decipher it out or give it cascade it down to those we think are the consumers of that information, for them to take precaution and them to act right and them to act safely. Yes. So you guys have done a super job, and I'd really like to give you a thumbs up and really ask you to really continue on. And you see at some quarters, we've read that some of these live feeds have been unplugged from certain stations. And there's a reason, because the information and how you are flowing it, how you're flowing that information, right? Information is power. right, is really creating some lots of differences in terms of procuring public safety, in terms of telling guys the truth as compared to the wrong disinformation that could be coming from some other quarters, disseminated for certain specific reasons, personal gain.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the issue of disinformation and misinformation and malinformation all together, because in this era of social media, I mean, there has been a lot of that, and the beauty of it is that the media has really been responsible in trying to tell the story as it is. But I do not know whether George Mburu, as a businessman, you agree with Chris, who is a security man.
Yeah, thank you very much. One thing that you will appreciate with the coming of Corona, digitalization has disrupted the way things are done, and that is not only when it comes to the mainstream medias. It is all over, even businesses. They have been disrupted because of the digital world that we are living in. Because, for example, big media like KBC, somehow it can be regulated. But we understand that the social media is not regulated.
Yeah.
So you will find in terms of reporting such incidences, and that is why we saw the Azimio, they came up with their own website whereby people will be posting social media information. And for sure, information is information. From whichever source it is coming from, it is information. But now what I can commend the mainstream medias is it is good to remain vigilant, so that you do not report on issues that can cause there to be mayhem. Like it happened back in the 2007, it all started in the media, because this media is reporting this place has erupted violence, another one. So responsible journalism is very important. And even with the digitalization, I would like to encourage the people that in the social media, you are not very far from the arm of the government. So if you are distributing misinformation, the arm of the government is very long. It can come for you. So what I can encourage, not only the mainstream media, but even the social media users, let us report responsibly, because we do not want to cause harm to our country. Because when you are reporting bad things, you are not only portraying our country in bad image, but you're also causing tension, you're also causing panic amongst the people in the country and out of the country, and especially the tourists. And you know, tourists nowadays, they are everybody is digital. You know, with the Google map, you can go anywhere. So we need to be responsible as a people, and the leaders now, they have realized, for sure, information now is all over. There is nobody who can try and stop information from flowing to the public. Now people are very informed. The only now encouragement is, let us, as much as we are much informed, let us distribute any videos, anything responsibly, so that we do not again are held to account for a crime which you did not even know that you have committed. You may have taken a very raw video, share it online, and maybe in our laws that is not right. So people need to exercise freedom comes with responsibility. So even the social media users, let us practice our freedom with that responsibility.
With decorum and responsibility. Gentlemen, because I can see time now is coming to around 17:25, and we have to be out of this studio by 17:30. As we wrap it up, George, I want to hear from you. If you are to be a truce breaker in this political stalemate, how would you deal with it?
If I was to be a peace breaker, if I was to be the Kofi Annan,
yes,
I'd actually point myself at matching the thoughts of the two classes that are feuding here, the opposition and in the government. If we can have a sit down and have an agreement along these points, come up with action plans of how we want to approach every complaint there, them giving us their points, us giving them their points, and coming to an agreement, then I think we can easily broker a truce. Yeah, because what is going on, like it's been well said by my brother in the business sector, everybody will hurt. Some will hurt today, some tomorrow, some in the long term. At the same time, the reputation of our nation, as it goes out there, will affect a lot. That if had it not gone out there, probably it would spell a lot of cash flow here that would benefit each and every person in this country. Then I also advocate for what he had said: taking money from the Kenyan population, from the Kenyan economy, and stashing it out there, not letting it there not help us, is really another contributor of what we are seeing now. It probably does not give our government the ability to regulate some of these prices that our common man are complaining about, the bay of unga, the bay of gas, the bay of electricity, and all these kinds of things. So if we can work as a Kenyan people placed by the Almighty God in this country for the betterment and development of this country, and agree on the way forward, despite our different lines of thoughts, then I think it would really broke our truth. And that's what I do. And for what is happening, for example, right now, to just reduce it down, I would minimize social media on the part of disinformation and misinformation.
How would you do that?
For example, have the IG of police with the cybersecurity unit that he has anybody who's going to peddle out wrong information would be liable to what it is peddled out. Go to WhatsApp group, tell WhatsApp group administrators, if any wrong information is peddled through this group that you're an administrator, then substantial action will be taken against you for that responsibility. So that we minimize the flow of negative information and encourage the sit down for us to resolve our national problems. Because at the end of the day, they are Kenyan problems. They are not European, they are not American. They are Kenyan problems that must be solved by the Kenyan people who are us.
And the beauty of it is that if we agree to sit down and listen to each other and talk to each other.
Yes.
I mean, talk with each other, not to each other.
Not to each other, with each other.
There will be a solution, definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have faced bigger challenges in the past. We've just come out from a very serious drought that has impacted so many people in this country. We also came out of 2007.
Yes.
We also came out of the multi-party, the one-party rule regime, and here we are. And we are marching together, towards Vision 2030,
absolutely,
which promises, a better economy, better country, a more advanced country, where people coexist and we live in cohesion, in a more, advanced economy, definitely. George Boro, do you want to say anything before I allow you people to leave?
Yeah, thank you very much. One challenge I would pose to you for the state, we have seen before the elections, you inviting the politicians or the people from the different political spheres, and they come and they explain or express themselves to the people. Do the same. We have two warring sides. This side is sticking to their guns. This side is sticking to their guns. You can become that Solomon. You can become that judge. The judge of the people is the media. You come, bring the people together. Let us listen, all sides, so that at the end of the day, people can be more informed. And we can get to know, is these demonstrations or peaceful demonstrations, are they worth it? Let the person calling for them to explain to us soberly, without shouting, without being in a rally, soberly, and having people who are moderating. And you, the state, we want to commend you because you have done it in the past. This time you can do it again. Call the warring parties. Let us as Kenyans listen to them. Then we will be able to judge who is taking our country to the right direction or who is making our country to stagnate. Yeah.
Very good.
Sure.
And I'm sure we are doing that and we'll continue to do that.
Sure.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for dedicating your entire afternoon to be with us here. And of course to help your country folks, your fellow country folks to understand how the situation is panning out there and trying to diffuse any tension that may arise because of what's happening here. Otherwise, thank you very much indeed. And your insight is highly appreciated.
Pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Actually, your evening now.
Enjoy your evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you've been having this interesting conversation here in studio as we reflect on what exactly has happened today. Remember, some parts of the country have been rocked by violent protest, as called out by the Azimio La Umoja. But largely it's proper to say that the country has been peaceful. A lot of people have now resumed their businesses, and we are just watching the situation to see how it is going to unfold in the coming days, and we do hope that at the end of the day peace and justice shall prevail to this to the people of this nation. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for being with us, of course, throughout the whole afternoon. Now it is evening. It is only 29 minutes to 6 o'clock. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Girl, I care about you. you walk far from me. That's why I gave you my heart. Oh Lord, so glad your path was written in the stars for me. It's you. You are the one, girl, it's you. Never let you go. You gave me wings so I can fly. You touched my heart, girl. You are the reason I still try. You touch my heart, girl. Pretty little natty with a distant vibe. On the phone we will spend some time, talking all day until the night fall. This I love very real and I know so call. Deep in your love me just a free fall. I love you lethal. Before me find your girl me think me see it all. I mean your mom you make this queen fall. It's you. You are the one, girl, it's you. Never let you go. You gave me wings so I can fly. You touched my heart, girl. You are the reason I still try. You touch my heart, girl. You know, you are what I want. You know, you are what I want.
And there's a lot of snakes in the grass, and I've made mistakes in the past, but none of them shall get me down. Judge, I'm putting my feet on solid ground. Oh, oh yeah, I smell the blood in the water, yeah. Sharks coming after me now. I smell the blood in the water, yeah. Yeah, we'll be dangerous soon. I smell blood. No shark is after me. One day it's gonna be so that I'm gonna make it. But mine is after me. What's the bread? Me celebrate, I can't take him. Love and unity, that's my destiny. We can't could never bring me. So many birds to learn, so we can live and learn, For those who pay to learn, please show us the way. Yeah, I smell the blood in the water, yeah. Sharks coming after me now. I smell the blood in the water. Yeah, we'll be dangerous soon. I smell the blood in the water, yeah. Sharks coming after me now. I smell the blood in the water. Yeah, we'll be dangerous soon. Blood, blood, blood. Say now, now you boy. Say now, now you boy, boy. Say now, now you know. Now, now you know. Now, now you know. I just want it back to the way it was, but I just can never find the right words. Took a little while to figure out. Now I did, but it's too little too late. You and I together, what I gotta do to make it right. I know that you and I could never turn back the hands of time, but everything I did wrong, girl. All the only things that I think about, girl. Everything I did right, yeah. All seems so small, yeah. And I should've, and I could've, and I would've done something. But my should'ves and my could'ves and my would'ves means nothing.
Is it too late to turn back the answer time? As I'm speaking, girl,
money ain't taking up your time. You and I together, what I gotta do to make it right. I know that you and I could never turn back the hands of